Hi, Unlockers. My name is Michelle Beckett, and I am one of the co-founders of ADHD Unlocked. I was diagnosed myself with ADHD 4 years ago at the age of 44, and I've spent the last 4 years researching ADHD and learning to help other adults with ADHD to realize their potential, which is why we started the ADHD Unlocked community alongside my business partner and co-founder, Stephanie Camilleri, who unfortunately can't join us today as she's away for the day. But so you've just got me today. And this week, we have been talking about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. You might think, I don't get imposter syndrome, or do I? Now, research has suggested that it's not just people with ADHD that suffer from imposter syndrome. Okay. Now, apparently, 70% of all humans suffer from imposter syndrome, which arguably, I think it could possibly be even higher than that. So even people like prime ministers, I do know, heard through the grapevine that one of our former prime ministers suffered from imposter syndrome to quite a high degree. So even at the top levels, you've got people who've achieved massive stuff who are really struggling and feeling like they are an imposter. So what is imposter syndrome? Now, it was coined, the phrase itself was coined by two US psychologists in 1978, and they described it as a feeling of phoniness in people who believe they are not intelligent, capable, or creative despite evidence of high achievement. And while these people are highly motivated to achieve, they also live in fear of being found out or exposed as frauds. Now, we all know that feeling, do we not? That feeling of they're going to find me out. I am not capable. I'm just winging it and I'm going to be found out. Now, that's that sense that you have when you feel like an imposter. Other questions to ask yourself if you think, not sure about that. Do you ever downplay or disregard your achievements and your success? Do you ever feel like you're winging it? Do you always remind yourself of stuff that you're bad at when you have achieved something good and go, yeah, but you know what? I didn't do that, or I'm not very good at that, or I didn't reply to that email. So maybe I should discount that. Do you feel like a fraud or a phony, as we've just discussed? Do you ever attribute your success to luck or timing or to somebody else? Think, well, yeah, that only happened because of that or because of that person, and not actually you, that you didn't create that success? Do you ever feel incompetent or unqualified and that other people around you are more qualified, even though they have the same qualifications? Do you feel like you don't deserve to be where you are? And this is a biggie. Do you ever stop to celebrate your success? Okay, because many of us don't. So even if we have achieved something, go, yeah, but on to the next thing. Maybe that was all right, but on to the next thing. Okay. Now, I said that most people, including neurotypicals, non-ADHD and autism spectrum condition people, do suffer from imposter syndrome, but we get it worse. Okay. Many reasons why. One reason actually is because there's not a great deal of representation for neurodiverse people in the workplace or in other areas of public life. So we might feel we're an imposter because of our condition and because we are neurodiverse, because other people around us, they aren't represented. So that's something to consider. And then the stuff that's related to our condition, so time blindness, lack of planning, we tend to mask and hide our struggles, particularly in the workplace, because we don't want people to find out. So that adds to a sense of being a fraud and being an imposter if we're masking some of our struggles. Now, here's a biggie. We often do things last minute, and because we've done it last minute, we discount it as not being as worthy or as good, even if it is. And also, when we are in flow, and often people with ADHD can be very, very good at certain things, and we have our ADHD strengths, which we talk about extensively. When we are in flow, it comes easy to us. So often we then discount that and say, well, that was easy. It didn't really involve effort, so it's not as valid and it's not as good. We also have a great deal of negative self-talk. We tell ourselves we are flaky, we are lazy, that we're never good enough, that we're inadequate. So we constantly remind ourselves of our failures. Another thing we do is we change jobs a lot because we might get bored, or we want to move on, or the organization may not understand our struggles. That kind of adds to our sense of fraud and that they're going to catch up with us at some point. So it is more of a problem for us, but there's lots we can do about it because the consequences are quite severe. It means that we might not go for that promotion, or we might not change jobs, or we might not put our hand up to do something that we're actually could be very good at. We miss out on opportunities. And also there's that sense of never celebrating that success. And that's what life's all about, isn't it? Sometimes sitting back and going, yeah, I did good. And we never do that. So that's really important that we have to do something about it. So here's our top tips for managing and having strategies for vanquishing your imposter that sits within you. So the most important thing is to understand that most of us get it and that it's there. And so to acknowledge that we have imposter syndrome, so that when we do have that negative self-talk, go, is that our little imposter inside us popping up? And understanding how common it is really, really, really helps. You must also get into the habit and use journaling for this. Things that come easy to you are no less value. Things that you do at the last minute, because we tend to kind of, have that Ferrari brain and kind of coast along and then, sprint finish with certain tasks and projects. They're of no less value. Please do not discount them just because you find it easy or you've done it at the last minute. Be aware of your strengths and give them value and know their value. Okay. The other thing to do, be aware of your strengths, write down all the things that you're good at, have it pinned up on a notice board in front of you so that you are reminded, so that this imposter is not going, look, okay, you go, look, these are all the things I'm good at. Also do the same for your achievements. These are all the things that you have achieved, okay? Make that list, okay, and remind yourself of it and look at it frequently. One of our members this week made a jar, success and achievements jar, where she wrote down and decorated a jar, really nice pieces of paper, and she put inside the piece of paper all the things she'd achieved, so that when she did feel like an imposter, she could open the jar and read off one of the pieces of paper of her achievements to remind herself, because we are so negative and so down on ourselves, we forget what we have achieved. So it's really important to do that. So challenge the story. If your imposter's telling you you're no good, ask it for evidence, okay? Write it down, go, what evidence do you have that I'm no good and that person's better than me and that they're more qualified, okay? Challenge it and you'll find that it removes the sting and it kind of, the imposter will get smaller and smaller. Also, reward yourself and celebrate any successes that you have. We rarely do this, okay? Reward yourself and take that time to go, yeah, I did good, okay? And remind yourself. Forgive your mistakes and let go of perfection. We tend to really focus on, well, I didn't do that perfectly, or, oh yeah, they really enjoyed that talk, but I said that wrong, or I stumbled over that word, okay? Focus on the good. Forgive any mistakes you've made in the past, because you can't keep beating yourself up, and any successes you have now and from now on stuff you've done in the past. And we've all made mistakes in the past, so we have to let them go. And also learn to accept praise and believe it, okay? We're very uncomfortable with accepting praise with ADHD because of that negative self-talk. So we have a whole week of resources on negative self-talk, and this topic of imposter syndrome is very related to negative self-talk. So to join us, go to members.adhdunlocked.co.uk/shop. And we have several live events every week and a very supportive community. And our members are realizing their potential by tackling all these really difficult subjects. And we look at fun subjects as well, getting on top of your ADHD as an adult, because we know how difficult it is and we know that pain, and we need a community to help us along. So we've got loads and loads of resources. We've got hundreds of hours of video downloads, podcasts, PDFs, short videos, long videos, webinars to help you with all these subjects, so you can just look up and dip in as you please, as well as joining our live events week on week. So these are the ways in which you tackle your imposter syndrome. So these are our top tips for getting on top of it. And one of the biggest things to realize is that it's always going to be there. and that will make it smaller. And how many of us suffer from this? So we can get on top of it and we can celebrate our successes. So join us and we'll make it easier for you to do so. I'm also going to put a link to the main website. You can sign up for our newsletter below this on the Facebook page so that you can sign up. But next week, we are looking at motivation and how to find your motivation mojo. So do join us and have a great weekend, and make sure that you top up your tanks, you get some rest, and that you take a bit of space to think about all that you have achieved this week, because you have done great and you are not an imposter. So thank you for joining me, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.